right, good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Okay, so today it's been a crazy weekend, UIL contest and stuff, but we are now getting ready. We're going to make a video just to kind of get you started with the gun, the Shell Modifier. The main thing is for the Shell Modifier, we're going to be working with a plain image. And so we really don't need a 3D view at the beginning. We can kind of shrink it out, and that way we can kind of see what's happening here if we want, but you really don't need that much at all. In fact, if you want to come down to this little tool here, it will expand out and you can select a single viewport and you can select which view that you want to see. And so if you do that, you actually have you can toggle back between your different views. So we'll start with the big view. If you want to start with this view and keep it small, that's fine as well. The main thing is we do need to make sure that we say front here. Wireframe needs to change to default shading. The default shading is going to allow us to actually see what we're working with in the image. So to get started, we need a plane. A plane is one of our primitive types. We just click plane. And we just kind of drag a plane, left click, and it'll drag. You can center it if you want to. And I'm just going to kind of set it here, but then I'm going to go to my parameters, and I'm going to square those off a little bit. I want this one to be about 100 by, let's do 80, no, not 80. We want it to be a little bit wider, so 100 by about 140. Let's try 160. Okay. We may change those in just a minute when we get the image onto here, so it looks so the perspective's correct. All right. So now that we've got a plane, we need an image on that plane. So I'm going to go to my folder that I've got open, which has the gun map. To get an image onto your plane for this, it's very simple. Click the image, drag it, drop it. In a little bit, it'll draw it in, and there it is. So I do see that it needs to be stretched in the width a little bit because the gun kind of looks kind of a little bit distorted. So let's do 100 by 200, and that's a great view for this one. So I'm actually just going to go and get started with this, and then I'm going to jump. I'm going to do like a real rough version of it. Then I'm going to jump to adding the shell modifier and such. And the main thing is just moving points. So the biggest issue right now is to break this apart and to get rid of all this white space that we see. We need to have some segments set. So we're going to, in that same parameters view where you added your plane, we're going to change the segments to about 16 and to about 20. Now you don't see anything right now, so if you do need to see something, you can go to your wireframe view, and we see that 420 that I put there is a huge number. We just need 20, and my 2 is not working. That's really weird. My number 2 on my keyboard has just quit working. Congratulations. Oh gosh. Okay, so now I need to figure this out. Okay, and so we're in our plane view. We're going to select this guy. Plane 1. Well, there the 2 works now. So 20. So I've got this broken into. Okay, it is not editing that one anymore. So I'm just going to add the plane again. I'm sorry about this. Kind of get going in. And we said 100 by 200. Okay. I'm going to go to default. Back to that folder. Drag the gun over. Okay, so now I've got the gun back, and my lengths and segments, set those to 20 and 16. Let me take a look at the wireframe, because that's going to be good, because that's what we're going to be able to do in a moment, is to break pieces out of it. So now that we've got our segments of 16 width at 20, we need to add some tools. We're going to go to our, next to the plus sign up here, we're going to select the plane tool, and the plane that's going to adjust this plane, and we're going to add in an edit poly. So we actually, where it says modifier list, we click it, and we're going to scroll to find edit poly, edit polygons. When we add an edit poly, use the arrow drop down, it gives us tools to work with just vertices, edges, borders, or polygons. Now, let me find a way to where I can see everything here. Edged faces. Okay, default shading. So if we go to default shading and edged faces, that will help us to see some of the information. So just click edged faces, click default shading, edge faces there, and that will bring it up for us. And so now I can actually select individual pieces of this. So the very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to drag select a lot of it and just push the delete key, and that makes it go away. So we can do that with quite a bit of it. In fact, here we can grab this section. We got that handle there, so we're going to kind of leave it for a little bit, but we can edit it out like this. Now, if you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in with the scroll wheel. I did chop some of that off, but what's cool about the 3ds is we can, while we're in our edit poly section, I'm using the scroll wheel to come way down at the bottom of this little window, and I see preserve UVs. Preserve UVs allows me to take a vertex like this one here, I just selected it, use my move tool, and when I move it, it'll preserve the image. So even this one, I can drag it to match the shape of the gun pretty much. So that way, if you cut out too much with that polygon tool, you can still get some of it back. And so that's going to help us to get rid of a lot of material. Now, like inside here, we can get rid of a bunch of this. So I'm going to go to polygon, and I'm going to hold left control, because I'm not going to worry about the trigger guard for this video. If you want to, in fact, we can worry about the trigger guard, and we can kind of blend it, and you can work with it. And I'm just going to delete some stuff out of there. So that gives us a lot more flexibility. Like any of these polygons that are pure white or real close to some edges, you can get rid of those. I wouldn't get rid of this one though. There's a reason for that kind of. Okay, so the next thing that I see is I've got a rough shape of it. The next step is to just kind of move some items around. So to get a little bit of the shaping in, that's where we use our vertex tool. If I take this vertex and select it, using the arrow so it doesn't change up or down the vertical, I can just move these guys in. You can actually mask select with the mask select tool. That's this guy right here. This one right here is the mask select. So you can mask select several and scoot them in. Then just kind of inching them over. Okay. And then the last one will inch it over as well. We can do the same thing down here. The more detailed you get, the better your gun will be. Like right here, here's a little special case. I'm actually going to scoot this point out for a moment because I actually want to have this as the bottom so I can pivot up. So I need another point here. And what we can do is we can add along vertical groups points all at once. So if I go to the edge tool and just draw straight up, click and draw straight up, and select all of these lines here, if I go to the connect tool, it's in your edit edges toolbox, and it's called connect. If you click connect, it will add a new line, and you can actually take this line and scoot it over before you set it by clicking elsewhere in the screen. But the reason I did that, A, it can add some contour to the handle of the gun, to other objects, whatever you've got. But right here, I now have a lowest point that I can vertex select and pull all of these up to completely get rid of any white that was there. I can select this one and pull it up, and that way you can shape and model. Like here, we can pull this point up. Okay. Right here is another really good candidate for connect, because I need some detail here, so I'm going to actually connect it twice to give me a lot of detail. So go to edge, just only the edges you want to select, all the horizontal ones, connect, and then select an, let me see here, I'm going to make sure it didn't connect too many. You can connect, I'm going to scoot it a little bit to the left, and I'm going to select those same edges again and connect them again. So now I've broken it up into even more pieces, because maybe at the beginning when I set my edges, my length and width, my segments, I didn't see that. So now we can go in with our vertex tool and really shape this. Select them all to bring that down. You can we'll kind of work with that in a second. So we can just kind of keep working with that. In fact, this vertex can come down and come over. Now you notice it does start distorting a little, but that's okay. We're just learning how to model right now. We don't need too much going on in our lives, so we don't want to make it too difficult for us. So I'm actually going to take this, and we might want to separate that one, or we could do some stuff to work through it again, because this one's it's really distorting. But I think, for now, just kind of work with it. If you want to add more segments so you have more control, you can do that also. One thing that I've seen some people do is all these segments created at the very beginning, they'll use fairly large numbers, like double or triple what we did, and it automatically adds a mesh. But you want to be careful about too many points, because that makes your processor work harder. So in the other video, I kind of show I'm bouncing around all these tools, selecting vertices and such, and things like that. And so I'm going to actually kind of stop here with this section, and I am going to show you how we can bring these in to really kind of fine-tune the barrel and everything by actually doing edge. We can split horizontally as well, just using the connect tool. And now I can I've done enough to where I can delete all of these guys. And I'll just mass select those, delete them, because now my barrel, I created all these vertices here, so I can actually pull them down and then shape that barrel as I need to. I can pull this guy, pull all of these guys over, pull all of these guys over, and now I can pull this down to give that little contour there, pull that, give contour. So it's all about just using your tools to do that. If you need some more edges, just cross over some edges and you can use the connect tool. So we've pretty much modeled the barrel of the gun. We can pull this guy in a little bit to give some contour there. Okay. And so that's how you model these items. So like I said, I am going to go ahead and jump to the next little section. Once you've got your side view nice and awesome and you like it, what you can do is save. Make sure you save. I'm going to save here. Brings up, I've got my scenes. And I'm actually going to create a new folder. Lee 2020. And we're going to say paintball gun 1. Okay. And I am going to do a multiple save where the next one will be paintball gun 2 and 3. That way we don't lose anything if we make a total mistake and we need to revert back. So now that you've got your gun looking awesome, it's flat. It is a plane, there's nothing to it. So I'm going to click that front again, and now I'm going to go to Shell Modifier. But before I do that, I am going to go back to my quad 4 view. That shows me a little bit more, because I'm going to be working with this section now. So I got that wireframe up there. We can go to default shading and then the edged faces so you can see everything. But I've got this gun right here that is flat. So let's fix that. In our modifier list, we're going to add a modifier to it. It's kind of progressive to it. And we're going to use the Shell Modifier. Shell Modifier. Right there, Shell. When you add the Shell Modifier, it allows you to change the width. Notice how it's got a little bit of a width now to it. If you do outer amount, just click it up. You don't see it happening very quickly. Okay. So that moves it to the left direction from this view. If we change the outer amount, it'll change there. So you want it symmetrical. So if we put about 4 here and about 4 here, we can see. Does that look too wide? Also, as you model this, when you're modeling it, notice how the barrel carries the texture, but it's kind of wrapped around it weird. Any of these places that are wide on top, once you model it closer to the gun, it will fit better. Okay, so now we've got it set up pretty well, and we're done, actually. We are finished with the model, but we want it to look a little bit less square. You can edit some of that yourself. You can come here to the barrel. Let me give it this view here. And you can actually go back to your edit poly. Well, you'd have to add an edit mesh for this, which is we're going to come later. But the cool thing is they have built in something that will auto smooth. So once you've added your shell and you've selected an inner and an outer that you like, 4 and 4 works for me. If you use the same dimensions, it might work for you as well. But what we can do is this. Another modifier in our list. And we're editing plane 01. That's the only object we've got. We can add what's called a turbo smooth. Turbo smooth. It rounds it instantly for you. So now that you've got your turbo smooth there, you're good to go. So you can save it. When you save this, there's 2 ways to save. For now, just save it as a 3ds Max, as a max file. So File, Save As. Since I've already saved one, I want to do Save As so I can do the new version. And a paintball 2.max or 3, whichever we're on. Now, in your selection here, you can select different ones. I've got 2018 here, so if you want to save it in any, just the standard one, or any of the ones from before, you can. I can do 2017, and just know that if you save it with one version, you can't open it with an earlier version. So if I save it as just a max, 2018 is what I'm going to be able to open it in only. And so that will, but you'll be able to open it on any computer that you're using that has the version that you use to create it. If you have any questions, feel free, make sure just text me or leave me a message. We'll be talking about this on Monday at the end of the level design class. If you have any questions, if y'all want to kind of try it out, we can take care of that on Monday and Wednesday as well. That way you can get some good questions, get some practice with it. Well, good luck making your guns. If you want to see the finer detail of doing the trigger guard and things like that, shaping those, the other video without audio has that in full. Um, just got to make sure, the main things here is you create a plane. So from your primitives, create plane. Once you've created your plane, set the segments and everything. 16 and 20 worked well. If you want to go 30 and 40 maybe, so you can just delete a lot more of those dots at the beginning, that's good. Just be sure you're not going to add too many more polygons in, no, too many vertices. Once you've got your plane, just go to your image, and drag and drop it over. Drag and drop it over, and that will link that image to your plane. Also, with inside of your edit poly, in that edit poly, you do want to make sure that you scroll to the bottom and preserve UVs. Preserve UVs makes it where you can move points without distorting the image too much. And so you can see what you're working on. Default shading and edged faces need to both be selected, and that gives you the ability to see your gun with the vertices and everything, and the points and the lines all on it. All right, well, I hope y'all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday that you have. That's when I recorded this, and I'll see you Monday.